Now, ladies and gentlemen, we were supposed to have Yang Berhormat Fadina Siddiq join us as well for this panel. Unfortunately, due to work circumstances, with apologies, she was not able to join us today. But not to worry, we will surely have her continuous support in empowering women. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the final session of the day, now you have seen a pattern where we have a little surprise each time before a plenary session. All right, we have another one before we wrap up the day. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here is a special treat for your ears and hearts.
Day by day, warmer and silent, facing fear, intimidation, and violence, robbing us of freedom and security, rooted in centuries of patriarchy. Of gender, class, or race. This is a world we can fight for, a world we're struggling together for. Let's rise together in solidarity to achieve our goal of shared prosperity. It will save millions of lives, empower the workers to thrive. But for a world where all are free, where there's no sexism and misogyny, equality for you and me. This is our aspiration. Give us a seat at the table. Give voice to workers, women, and young people. We must have a say in policies affecting our life. Their design, their enforcement must have no lag behind. In gender-based violence and discrimination, ensure social protection. Social dialogue engagement with women, build a nation grounded on inclusion and people's genuine participation. Guarantee senior business on demand. Command by people. Now it's time to man to protect us, shield us, and make us safe from violence and harassment that all women face. We are people on safe, make the world a safe place. Equality for you and me.
and gentlemen, give it up for Dayanku Ifa, Iza Zainal, Mia Love, Maria Maya, Wadi Diana, and producer Ezra Afika. The song, ladies and gentlemen, was written and produced by ITUC-Asia Pacific and Meggy Katigbak, called Equality for You and Me, composed by Tommy Katigbak. Just beautiful. Thank you very much, ladies. Another round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. To Yang Berhormat Teo Ni Ching and also Yang Berhormat Senator Datuk Seri Dr. Zuraina Musa, thank you again for being here today. It is also the last day of Parliament for the year, and we know how challenging that can be. So again, thank you for being here with us at this forum. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with our spirits up and hearts ready to soar, it's time for a much anticipated highlight of MWGF 2024, Women and Nation Building, the Foundation of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion. It's time for Plenary Session 3 in conversation with Malaysia's female nation builders. This final session, ladies and gentlemen, will comprise of our two strong female figures that are in the hall with us today. We will hear their thoughts, their insights, their perspectives, and also what they see lies ahead in the future for women in Malaysia. So without further ado, we would now like to call upon our moderator for this plenary session, none other than Ms. Tamina Kauzji, MWGF Head of Secretariat, Independent Broadcast Journalist, Gender Equity Activist, and Communications Director at TBP Communications. A round of applause for her, ladies and gentlemen. With that, Tamina, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome back, Nadia. What an inspiring performance, everyone. I feel very much in the mood. And without further ado, may I now kindly please invite to join me on stage Yang Berhormat Teo Ni Ching, Member of Parliament Kulai Johor, as well as a Deputy Minister of Communications. She is also State Chairperson and Women Chief and National Publicity Secretary with DAP. Also inviting to join us on stage, Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Dr. Hajah Zuraina Musa, Senator with the Upper House of Parliament and also Wanita UMNO Head for Federal Territories. Yes. All right, Head for Cheras. There's been a slight amendment. So, very good to have you with us, both Yang Berhormat. It is a wonderful afternoon to conclude all of MWGF 2024, Women and Nation Building, with this wonderful panel of YB Teo Ni Ching and YB Datuk Seri Dr. Zuraina Musa. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after 61 years of nationhood since 1963, when we as Malaysia became one, Malaysia only boasts 13.5% female representation in politics and policy making overall as an average, right? But women and girls are always at least 50% of our population, not just in Malaysia, but also wider globally. Then there is also the gender spiral, which sees more women in older age groups. As women biologically, we tend to outlive men as well. And at the same time, all the issues that we have been discussing through the day, all the way from political empowerment to some of the grassroots issues which cause rates of poverty to be especially high amongst women, this also means we not only live longer lives, but generally on average, poorer lives as well. Access and equity can, of course, only be had at the highest levels if we have sufficient numbers of women representing us in the highest corridors of politics. And as was mentioned during the keynote speech by Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri, as well as by YB Sherlina on the morning panel, we also only have 5 full female cabinet ministers. We have a slightly higher representation of close to 27% deputy ministers in our cabinet, including, of course, YB Teo. So allow me to start off this discussion by fielding a couple of interesting questions that I actually have. Perhaps I could start with asking YB Teo. Now, YB Teo, reflecting upon your journey in politics, would you say that there are specific policies or areas that you have always been interested in championing because of your unique perspectives and your lived reality as a woman, a working professional, a politician, and also a mother?
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you for having me here with all of you, and thank you for the questions as well. I think for me, some policies in helping working mothers actually is very, very close to me, because I myself obviously is also a working mother. So I think I understand, and I understand the struggle for the working mothers. And therefore, when we always say the female labor participation rate in Malaysia is around 55%, compared to many, many countries, we are actually considered very low, especially when we already know that there are more women in universities when compared to men. I think the ratio in the higher education institution, among 10, we got 4 women, and then 4 men, 6 versus 4. But however, when we talk about female labor participation rate, it is still very low, only at the rate of like about 55%. Compared to our target, perhaps we should at least have 70% or even 75%, but at least perhaps we can move to 65% first. So to me, what I'm always very keen and interested to campaign for would be how can we assist working mother? When we want women to come back to workforce, what are the policy available for them? How can we take care of childcare services? What are the policy for the old folks caring systems? How do we take care of them? So I think the care industry, a role traditionally played by women, the responsibility carried by women. But as a government, I believe that there are more we can do so that we can help women after we already help them to actually achieve whatever they can academically. Then of course we want them to also join the workforce and become active contributor to our economy as well. And I believe that no matter your gender, of course it's great if you choose to become a housewife. I think nobody can question our choice. But I think men and women, if you would like to stay at home, being a full-time housewife or full-time house husband, this is something we need to respect. But at the same time, I think we can also acknowledge the fact that certain women in this room, certain women in our country, in this society, also have certain ambitions to pursue their career. And I think it is our responsibility to make sure that we have the ecosystem to support them.
Absolutely. Speaking of support systems and infrastructures, thank you very much, YBTO, for highlighting that. I'd just like to also highlight an interesting data point, which is women who are outside the formal workforce. And now, did you know that about 7.2 million Malaysians, as according to our latest statistics, are part of the informal labor force, meaning which they are not employed by companies or do not necessarily work in industries, they work informally. Almost 70% of the 7.2 million are actually women. So there is a huge need for also the policies which are made at the highest levels of government to also be very inclusive indeed of especially different age groups, because specifically women from B40, rural, indigenous, and also elderly backgrounds are quite often the ones who are pushed due to a lack of choice and opportunity into the informal workforce. Thank you very much. Dr. Sri Raina, now moving into another interesting dimension, looking at democracies overall, also given your vast experience working in not just the corporate sphere, but also politics and management and upper management, can we truly say that our democracy is reflective of the will of the nation if, as 50% women are not even 20% represented?
Tamina, thank you. She always comes up with fantastic questions. Yes, I believe that when we talk about democracy, we've got to understand the meaning of democracy. What is it that constitutes democracy in the minds of the people and in the minds of the policymakers? For me, I must have the right to do what I feel is good for me and my family, be it working or be it a housewife. Though I'll send my husband up the wall if I'm a housewife, that's beside the point. So it is up to us to decide. And looking at the figure that, Tamina, you just mentioned, women have a choice. Sometimes what I may I'm going to say you may question me, but sometimes I think what is holding us back, it's more us than the policy or the people. You see, culturally, we were brought up to be the housekeepers, to look after the family, to look after our family, to look after our parents. But as we grow, as we come up in life, we have to ask ourselves, is that right for us or is not? So the policy is there. If we want to make changes, we have to voice that change. But what changes do we want to make? Wherever I go and whenever I speak to a lot of ladies especially, sometimes I feel that we hold ourselves back more than what others are doing to us. We have this what is called the perceived glass ceiling. I don't believe in the glass ceiling. That's why I say it's a perceived glass ceiling. Now, it's up to us to voice out. It's up to us to come out and say what is it that we want to achieve. And it's up to us to ensure the representative that we have chosen speak our mind, speak our voices. Now, when we say the policy is not done to what we like, we voice it out. Because those that's making the policy, be it in the lower house or the upper house, is a representation of all of you here. So we need to be brave enough to voice out that this is what we want. Culturally, we have to educate ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves that, look, the responsibility of looking after the family doesn't fall on the women. It has to be equality. It has to be the men as well as the women. In my household, I make sure my son picks up his plate, goes to the kitchen and wash. It starts with something as small as that. For them to realize that, look, what we're doing is not because it's not our job, it's a female's job. No, what we're doing is because it's our responsibility. So women out there, speak your mind and speak it loudly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Sri Zuraina. And I think that is an interesting point to interject on also, that social norms are also extremely powerfully shaped by the media we consume, what we are exposed to, and as much as so much of advocacy, so much of awareness and empowerment is being done by our traditional and our upcoming standards, NGOs at the grassroots. What is also happening is that young people in particular live digital realities. Now, globally, we have had many new data and research that have been released in 2024 actually proving that increasingly around the world, young women are actually polling to be politically extremely so-called progressive, liberal, democratic, while young men of the same age, 25 and below, all the way from 18 to 25, are actually polling to becoming more extreme in their traditional views. So that brings me to the point of looking at the landscape of being a female politician. I will direct the question to YBTO first, but then of course to YB Dr. Sri Zuraina as well. Now, there is a dimension of facing and living online also, even as a working politician, YBTO. At the United Nations Population Fund, the advocacy is framed around the term tech-facilitated gender-based violence, basically di atas talian. So in your perspective, what are some of the types of brickbats or perspectives that you have faced as a woman in politics, and have you observed or noticed that your similarly male colleagues in politics face the same? What is the difference, and how has it been hopefully been addressed perhaps at a party level and how do you hope it might be addressed on a national level so more young women are encouraged, not discouraged, from joining politics?
Thank you. I think the way the society, and of course now on social media, the way they treat men and women are usually quite different. So as a female politician, we will always be asked how you juggle your family and your work. How many reporters or how many occasions male politicians will be asked these type of questions? And this type of stigma, for example, if you are not married, and then something probably is wrong with you, this type of perception, and of course like our look, how we dress, all these things can actually become an issue. And especially on social media, it's very easy for the netizen to to make very, very negative and nasty remarks towards our appearance. But frankly speaking, I don't think it happened that regularly towards the male politician. As if it's a duty on ours to actually always look nice, or not just look tidy, it's not just good enough, but we must always look nice. But at the same time, we need to show that we are able to take care of family, we are able to take care of children well. And then, but a problem is, because I joined politics very, very young. I joined politics at the age of 27. At that point in time, I was single, and then I got married at the age of 30, got my first kid at the age of 31, and then second kid at the age of 33, and then 35, my third kid. So people also ask, wow, as a female politician, wow, you gave birth to 3 children, wow, the maternity leave you're going to enjoy, how are you going to serve your constituency? That was also one of the questions being thrown out by actually my opponent, and then of course some of the netizens on the social media as well. But of course, these type of questions won't go to male politicians. They can have 4 wives, like nobody asks them how they juggle their time. that is the reality.
Men are also fathers, right?
So I think it is very important. For me, it is still fundamentally we need to have more women to create the whole ecosystem. That is, we have the support system for women. And as Mina mentioned just now, the percentage of female politician is still very, very low. At Parliament, we only got 13%. We only got 13%. I can't believe it. When I first joined politics and became the MP, it was 2008. At that point in time, it's about 10%. And this is now 2024. We now only become 13%. I think the changes is almost insignificant. I would definitely say insignificant. Why is it so tough for women to join politics? And the fact is, we need more female to join politics so that eventually the support system will be stronger, and then the reporters will not feel the necessity to ask female again how you actually divide your time between your work and also your family, because they will know that it's very common for women to actually become a political leader, to become an MP, to become a minister, or hopefully one day even the prime minister. So I think sometimes we receive these out questions and receive this out treatment is simply because we still don't have the number. We still don't have the number, and therefore I strongly believe in we need to continue to empower women, and we need to have this gender mainstreaming in whatever position we are. So for myself, for example, in my office, when I appoint my own officer, gender equality will be one of the factors I consider. So if, for example, I need to take in one more staff, then I will count in my office how many male staff I already have, how many female staff I already have, so that I make sure that at least in my office, when I'm able to bring my staff to actually enhance their exposure, I distribute the opportunity equally among men and women. And if, for example, I got an opportunity to attend, or for example, we receive certain invitation to attend certain training, certain forum in overseas, when I need to choose who do I send, I will always make sure that at least 50% is reserved for women. Of course, sometimes they only give us 3 quota, then I will make sure that at least 1/3, one of them is definitely from women. Because I think how do we continue to give them sufficient exposure is very, very important. And therefore, for the party, for DAP, we are very ambitious, we are very committed to train more female to become candidate. and also to take out different type of position, because now we are state government as well, so we actually can appoint female local councillor, we also can appoint ketua kampung, village head, etc. So to me, we need to make sure we have the talent pool. I don't want any of my colleague to come back and tell me, we want to appoint female, but you give me names lah, we don't have names. I don't want to give them this type of excuses. Though actually, in my humble opinion, it should be their responsibility to go out and get girls to join politics as well. It shouldn't just be the females' responsibility to go and recruit more female. But yes, I got male colleagues who are very supportive, but there are also some male colleagues perhaps not so supportive by trying to push the responsibility to us, but it's okay. I believe collectively we will be able to see some improvement.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, YBTO. And I think the overarching narrative that I actually took away from YBTO's sharing is normalization. Make it normalized to not pinpoint child rearing and other unpaid care work responsibilities in the public eye upon just women. Ask your male YBs, to fellow reporters and journalists, how are your children doing? How old are they? How much time have you been spending with them? Because that's how we actually are able to push these wider conversations that then lead in the halls of both Parliament and the Senate into voting for equitable parental leave, better care infrastructure investments, not only for childcare, but also for elderly care, being very cognizant that we are part of a demographic transition right now. And aging is, of course, a privilege, but also a fact of life. And then again, it comes back to the cycle of something I had mentioned a little earlier, Dr. Srijaraina, which is that we do see feminization of poverty, which is more women who are older, also because of a gender wage gap or because of other breaks that we inevitably may be taking because of motherhood, care duties, rather than men. Quite often, women do not have sufficient funds for retirement. In your opinion, and through your vast experience, Dr. Sri, what are your ideas about the way in which policies can be shaped so that we ensure that across the life cycle also, women, elderly women especially, our foremothers, our grandmothers, they can live a life of not just dignity, but also have active and full social participation?
Tamina, that's a question that a lot of people have been asking. You know, how do we make sure that women can stand on their own 2 feet, basically? How can we do that? You see, I just would like to add a little bit on what YB was saying, because I totally agree with her, totally. You see, when the reporters ask a woman, it's like, how do you make time? How do you look so beautiful? I said, hey, I like to look beautiful. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder, yeah? So I like to look good. I do it for me and not for anyone else. And you don't ask the man, oh, your suit looks good. Though I make it a point to go to a man and say, oh, you look good in the suit, so they know how it feels. But the men sometimes, they like it. They say, oh, okay, because she must admire me. Nonetheless, okay. I'm being facetious here. To the men here, I salute you for being here. You're very brave. And look at our policies, yeah? Even the paternity leave, it is 7 days for paternity leave, and maternity leave is 90 days. Where is the fairness there? Why can't we have the paternity and the maternity leave being shared equally by the father and the mother of the child? We may want to go back earlier than 90 days, and the husband can look after the child for 30 days. That is something that culturally we have to implant in our sons, in our kids' minds, in our children's mind, that look, it is all right. It is all right to do the things that what you think that, oh, it's only for the female. You can't do that. And women must be encouraged to go out there, to work, and to do what they want to do. Do not be afraid to take that one step out of your comfort zone, to live the life that you want to live. For you to live with dignity, you need to have finances that is under your name, not only your shared and waiting for your husband to give you the money. No, you need to work. Be an entrepreneur if you need to, because statistics shows that women are the best paymasters, better than any men. This is statistically saying, yeah. Also, to me, it's very, very important that us women stand our ground. I'm not asking you to go back and fight with your husbands, no, but stand your ground, saying that this is what I would like to do, and I need you to support me in what I want to do as I support you in your career. That is important. So we need to know, and I truly believe that women must always be encouraged and empowered, so that you believe, and you must believe, that this is your right to live with dignity, to do the things you want to do. One weekend, you tell your husband, you look after the kids. I'm going out to have a girls' day. I'm going out to have a family day or friendship day with my friends. Do it. I see a lot of you. Go back and do it. If you have a family, do it. Tell your husband, darling, this weekend is your turn. I'm going out. Do that. Be brave enough. Don't just keep in that circle of culture that women are supposed to be doing this. Women are supposed to be doing that. And this is something that I will fight in Parliament for. Gender equality. 3 issues that I focus in Parliament, I always talk about. Number 1 is gender equality. We do not want special treatment. We're not interested in that. We want equality. What is good for him is also good for us. Number 2 is education. Education is very important. And for your knowledge, I just got my PhD at this very young age. You know? So there's no stopping you. I've got 5 kids, 1 husband, 5 kids, and it didn't stop me from getting what I want. And I didn't need to do my PhD. I did it to show my kids and my husband that, look, being a woman, being a mother, being a politician, being a businesswoman, I can still make time, prioritize. It's very important. And the third thing, apart from gender equality, education, I talk about economics. When we talk about economics, it has to be the economics, not of the FDI, the DDI, yeah, that's fine. But when you talk to the B40s, I hope you understand, I'm going to speak in Malay now. I said, Kak, macam mana Kak barang kat pasar? You know how they answer? Oh, ekonomi akak ni teruk sekarang. So in their mind, their economy is how much they can spend. Rightly so. The spending power is in the hands of the women. We can spend, rightly or wrongly, we can. Okay. So when this happens, you need to make sure that the food that's on the table is being provided for, not only by the men, but by us as well. The food that's being cooked should not only be cooked by the wives, but it should be cooked by the husband as well. This is how you want to plant the seed of equality in your family, your children, your husbands, and, you know, everyone that's around you. It is very, very important. To live with dignity, you need to have that right to stand, to work, to speak, to save your own money. Do not be dependent. Tamina.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Datusri. I think that's a really resounding message because it speaks to life cycle angles as well. And you were also speaking about equality in particularly when it comes to the different positions that you've had. Waibitio, you had touched lightly upon how equality looks like at your offices. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper into that. What would you say is your leadership style? And would you say that it is different from or unique from more traditional, patriarchal, and parochial leadership styles? And how has the reception been so far? Do you also notice that other female leaders in politics employ these kind of leadership strategies? Or are they still, in a sense, also looking to follow patriarchy models?
This is not an easy question, frankly speaking. I think certain research has already shown that it is very, if a woman become too assertive, they are become least likable. So I think that the survey was done in such a way. Basically, it's the same piece of story, exactly same piece of story. You just change the character. For Article 1, maybe you put Ali or Martin. Article 2, maybe you put Fatima or you put John. And the conclusion is completely different. In the Article A, the audience will say he has great leadership, he's a good leader, he has visions. So all the positive description for the male leader. However, when the character changed into a female, the conclusion will be completely different. She is inconsiderate, very bossy, emotional, etc., etc. And then I think that is accurate. And I myself, I think that is accurate in the sense that if a woman become very, very aggressive, we usually call them lady boss or iron lady, and most of the time it really isn't something very, very complimental. It's complimentary, but most of the time actually, but if it's perfectly okay for a male to be very, very assertive, etc. So for a female, we always are being expected to be softer, when we approach things, we cannot be too garang, or cannot be too fierce in parliament. Otherwise, maybe people will think that we are actually less likable. So and I think another issue that I still actually try to overcome it. I need to constantly remind myself to actually be aware of it and then try to overcome it is, I think until today, even though I become, for example, DAP Wanita, DAP Women Chief, I become a Deputy Minister, I become DAP Johor State Chair Lady, I still feel that compared to my male colleague, sometimes I feel that I'm less confident than her. And again, that goes back to certain research to actually show that there is another piece of story I wanted to share with you. I remember she was the author of LinkedIn, okay, a CFO of Meta, of Facebook. It was a piece of article she shared, and I feel strongly after I read the article. Basically, she and her brother went to the same university, taking out the same course. She and her friend come out. Her friend is also a female. They both feel that they didn't do that well. So they worried they cannot get A. However, the younger brother come out and then she asked him, what do you think about the exam? Do you think you do well? And he was very, very confident. Yeah, as usual. I think it's no problem. It's very easy. I think sure can get A. And then eventually, the result, all three get A. So actually, the conclusion is, for men, they are always overconfident, or very, very confident, or overconfident. And then for women, we always need to achieve it, only then we believe that we actually have the ability, we have the capability to also do so. But for men, they don't need that. You say, oh, can you do that? 99% of them will say, yes, I can. But for women, they will come back and say, really? Am I ready for that? Is it too soon? Am I really qualified? So I think this is another psychological difference. For certain reason, not just us ladies in Malaysia or in Asia has this problem, until I found that even the female in the other part of the world, we cannot escape from that. Sometimes we have this self-doubt, and that contrast to our male colleague, male counterpart, who is always so confident. Who is always so confident. I remember I have this conversation with one of my colleagues. I said, if people disagree with your opinion, how do you feel? Do you feel hurt? Do you feel disappointed? He said, If they don't agree with me, meaning that they are stupid. And you see, that is the level of confidence they have. But how many women in this room will be able to say that if anyone disagree with us, instead of we asking ourselves, are we very, very sure about this? And then we don't, and then, or we actually said, they just don't understand it because they are too stubborn or they are too stupid to understand the issue, etc. So I still need to constantly remind myself, first of all, it's okay to be assertive. It's okay to be assertive. If this is something we really believe in, then we need to deliver the message in whatever way we have to. Secondly, we always need to have confidence in ourselves. Who said we cannot do it? We can do it. And so when the opportunity arises, make sure we grab the opportunity, because somebody need to break the glass ceiling. Somebody need to break the glass ceiling. And then we need to have this confidence in ourselves, because we need to believe that we have gone through the same education system. We have also contributed in our way to the country. So when opportunity arises, we just need to tell ourselves, yes, we are ready, and we need to not be shy, not be too afraid to actually take out the opportunity and also shadow the responsibility.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing those insights, YBTO. Now, it's also worth noting that when it comes to women who are always outliers to all of these gender norms and stereotypes, girls' school, women's university. And you know why? Because then you get to thrive on an equitable play field with 100% female colleagues or schoolmates or college mates. So it actually proves the really powerful role of social norms, all the way from what we might be reading in our school textbooks, which also, for example, if there's a picture of cooking, it's always a woman doing the cooking. If there is someone who is doing yard work, it is possibly the father or the male figure in the family. So all of this, it actually collates to then go into a huge circle, which quite inaccurately, in my humble opinion, is often ascribed to as quote-unquote imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is actually the collective consequence of systemic and structural gender inequality in our societies, which places a burden then upon women and girls to perceive that we are less than, because of the existing structural society, not because we ourselves are unable. So plenty to talk about there, but I'm going to then quickly move on to asking Dr. Sri Zuraina. Now, during your recent Senate speech, just on 4th December, YB, you emphasized the importance of increasing women's representation in politics via electoral laws. I would love for you to share a little bit more about this.
I'll get into trouble with this, but, well, what is right is right. In fact, when we had a pre-council with the Prime Minister, I got up and I spoke to the Prime Minister. I asked him about making it law for candidates to be women candidates to be at 50%, just like what Mexico has passed. I said, why can't we do that? But the Prime Minister was very glad, I think someone brought it up, because he says, that's a good idea. And he looked at the other party leaders and looked and said, it's time we think and we talk about this. So it's not that we've not brought it up. We brought it up personally to the Prime Minister as well as in Parliament, because I feel it's very, very important. Just now, YB Teo was saying that you said, make sure that women themselves prove to themselves that they are worthy. That's not exactly your words, but that's what you meant, right? So that you go out and say that you are ready. The pool is there. We are not taking anyone's space. What we are asking for is make it law that at least 50% of MPs, the chalon, the representative, are female. Whether we win or not is secondary. That doesn't mean that, if we do not get that chance, we will not be able to serve. You will be able to serve in many ways But what is important is that 50% must be made law, because then the leaders of all parties will ensure that the candidates be 50% women. If not, it will never happen. Tamina, this will never happen. We need to take that stand. And women out there, I would also like to touch a little bit on what YB just said earlier, that sometimes when someone says, can you do this? The men would put up their hand. Now, this is a fact, because the government last year requested that I speak to a group of leaders who are going to be promoted. They've got to go through this course. And one of the session was with me, where I gave a talk. And I said, look, if there is a position for KSU, do you think you'll be eligible? Show me a show of hands. Do you know, we had about 40% women and 60% men. All men took up their hand, and only 1 or 2 women took up their hand. And I asked them, why? Don't you think you are capable? Oh, I'm not sure. So it's this thing that's in us that is stopping ourselves to be given that opportunity. So please, ladies, me alone, YB alone is not enough. We represent you, but you need to represent yourself. You need to go out there and say, look, why not me being a candidate? Unless you do not want to be, that's a different story. But if you think you are capable of doing, then do it. You know, every one of us, we have this circle that we stand in. This is where our comfort zone, this is where we think, oh, we are great and we are good. But to take that one step out, we are so afraid. We think people will see that we are weak, we do not know. It's okay to be weak. It's okay to not know. Nobody is perfect. Nobody knows everything. But what is important is, if you can serve, you think you are good, go out and say, look, I am good. Please give me an opportunity. I want that opportunity. Take up your hand. Go forward. Because this is very, very important. Even Rwanda has got that ruling of at least 50% must be female representation. Why can't Malaysia do that? Now, this is something I would ask Dewan Rakyat to push, and Dewan Negara will definitely sign off. We'll try our best. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to legislate it and then make the political processes take their course. You can't have it if you're just going to wait for it, and not 30%, 50% at the very least for candidacy. Thank you very much, Dato' Sri Raina, for that. Very, very insightful. I want to come back to asking YB Teo Ni Ching one last question, but before that, a quick reminder to everyone. We'll flash the Slido code, and of course, you can key in your questions. We will take a few before we end this session. YB Teo, it has also been a very busy session of Parliament for the Ministry of Communications, and we also were very heartened to learn that just yesterday, Dewan Rakyat passed the Penal Code amendments to address all forms of bullying and harassment, including online abuse. And of course, one of the most recent cases, and also the clause is now informally referred to as the Asia clause, in memory of Rajeswari Apahu, the influencer who allegedly and credibly died of suicide quite recently. Your thoughts about how such bills, which has also been pushed by your officers and your arm of the ministry, are really important for helping women and girls feel safe in all spheres, including online?
I think at this digital age, especially with technology such as AI, we are going to see more and more harmful content, because it takes seconds. It literally just takes seconds to generate different types and many types of harmful content. And it's so easy for you, for anyone to just put it online, and then it will take ages. It will take extra, it take a lot of efforts for you to eventually to remove it. First of all, open any social media account these days doesn't cost you anything. You want to open a social media account at Facebook, at X, at TikTok, it doesn't cost you a cent. It doesn't cost you a cent. So if somebody purposely want to distribute some harmful, awful, indecent content generated by AI, or even if there is a genuine picture, they can easily do so and hide behind their device, their handphone, etc. And that is what we have observed from South Korea, for example. What we see in South Korea is a lot of AI-generated content, pornography, even child pornography, that type of content being circulated. And it also happened in US, whereby the students themselves, simply because they have some issue with certain girls, they also use AI to help them to create certain very, very awful content and then distribute among their classmates, etc. So I think this is going to be the new trend, and therefore it is very, very important for us to, first of all, make sure the platform need to be need to be held responsible. Platform need to be held responsible in the sense that how do they allow other people to actually utilize their platform to distribute harmful content. I think we have discussed about this issue actually not just recent years. If I can recall, the last, I think it's in 2016, 2017, where we have this Rohingya genocide in Myanmar. The investigator for United Nations already concluded by that point of time that why you suddenly have a genocide against Rohingya. Facebook algorithm need to be held responsible. That was the conclusion of the investigator by United Nations. And then I think the situation is getting worse because of the latest technology such as AI. It becomes so easy to create harmful content. And therefore I think there is definitely an urgent need for us to review our law. How do we make sure that if we really want to hold the culprit responsible, we definitely need to get certain evidence as well. We need to charge them in court. We need to have certain evidence. It's slightly easier if that particular person use their genuine account. But the problem is, the perpetrator usually will not use their genuine account. So meaning that they will operate a genuine account whereby I show my photo, I show my family's photo, where I go for lunch, etc. This type of nice photo. But the problem is when I want to do something naughty, when I want to do something I know is illegal, and it's possible that the authority will come after me, what they will do is they will open fake account. They will open fake account. And I think this is a challenge, not just faced by Malaysia, but many, many other countries as well. That's why in this parliament sitting, we have passed Online Safety Act. I think we can still call it a bill because it haven't passed in Dewan Negara yet. And we also amend the Communication and Multimedia Act. And then, of course, we are talking about OTT licensing, social media platform licensing. If they have more than 8 million users, we also want to license them because that will make the communication easier and more effective. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you have this huge distrust towards the government, but I would like to stress here, it's not that we are not trying. Myself and YB Fahmi, ever since we are appointed as the minister and the deputy minister, we have at least 21 face-to-face meetings with this platform provider. We have at least 21 face-to-face meetings with them, and that doesn't include meeting that doesn't involve us. For example, meeting just between MCMC and Meta, meeting between MCMC and TikTok. If we did not attend, I don't count it in. But myself and YB Fahmi, we have face-to-face meeting with them at least 21 times. But do you really think that internet has become safer place after these meetings? What I notice is, for example, illegal gambling or online gambling. This meeting, we highlight this issue to them, tell them, hey, this casino is illegal. This casino is also illegal. In Malaysia, only four companies get the gambling license, isn't it? Other than that, all are illegal. All are illegal. But the problem is, yes, after the meeting, for the following 3 days, all advertisement for this illegal online gambling disappeared. But it come back again after 2 weeks. After 2 weeks. Then that is not effective. That's not effective. And then what we see is scammer these days. Last week, what I saw is they impersonating AG Chambers. They say AG Chambers actually created, for example, a special task force to help online scam victims to recover their lost. So suddenly, within less than 2 weeks, we found out there are 247 content, and it's sponsored content, meaning it's paid content by the scammer, suddenly appear everywhere on Facebook. Less than 2 weeks, 274 paid content. Meta getting money from the scammer. And then scammer is hoping to get money from you and me and from the Malaysians, fellow Malaysians. That is not fair. I don't think that should continue. And that's why we need to review our law. So we made amendments to CMA. We also introduced new law, hoping that we can create a safer internet world whereby everybody, especially the platform, can also be held responsible, and at the same time, we can also empower the user. I think now the problem is, yes, on the platform, you can do the self-reporting, but is it effective and is it useful? If you have ever used it and tried it, you will know 99% of the time, they will say, oh, we found that this post doesn't violate our community guidelines, and then they will allow the post to remain there. Imagine, Dato' Siti Nurhaliza lodged a report with Meta saying that this is not her account, somebody is impersonating her to scam people, and yet the complaint lodged by her is not effective. You need to take MC to lodge the complaint with Meta for them to finally take it down. I think this is the trend. Crime has evolved from physical crime, now become cyber crime. And that's why we need to do certain changes to make sure our legislation is also up to date.
Absolutely, and it also once again comes back to the intersection of gender, because the reported cases which were received by PGRM and the D11 with regards to child sexual abuse materials, in particular, of course, once again disproportionately affecting girls, but also increasingly boys, and child groomers, pedophiles, are primarily operating online these days, no longer in person either. Fantastic. Thank you very much for those insights, YBTO. And now I think the floor is, of course, open for those questions that have been coming in. And I read the first one which has come up. I'm going to read it out, whichever of you would like to take the question. Anonymous asks, how to support women nation builders when societal expectations limit opportunities and choices which women have, especially underprivileged or underserved women with very real glass ceilings. So talking about perhaps having policymakers who are actually representing not just rural constituencies, but are actually from those rural or indigenous or other B40 constituencies.
Awareness is very important. And to me, for us to do any difference, be it a member of parliament, be it a senator, or be it any leaders of societies, it is the connection that you have with that particular society, that particular group of people, and you need a lot of the NGOs, the CSOs as well, to go down and play a role in approaching especially groups of women, groups of societies that say, hey, look, let us assist you. Hey, look, you can do this. So it's very important, yeah? What was the last one?
Yes,
and how?
Thank you for that. If we could perhaps move on, this is a different question.
Okay.
This one is asking, please can you give advice to homemakers who feel that their place is at home and how they can overcome the guilt of working full-time? Do you mind if I refer this to you, YBTU? As you had mentioned about the challenges initially of balancing 3 children as well as your active career in politics.
We used to say women, especially for working mothers, our middle name is guilt. I heard it from somewhere else. I did not invent the sentence, but I remember this sentence very well. Women, your middle name is guilt. I think there are a few things very important here. First, I think we need to have a spouse who is very, very supportive. I think that is very important. Because if they are supporting, I think they also understand we have the right to pursue our dream and our career. If this is okay for any man to sometimes spend lesser time with their family in order to pursue their dream and career, then I believe that as women, we also have this same right. So I think that is very, very important. I myself must admit that if I'm able to overcome the guilty feeling, I think is the support from my spouse that plays a very, very important role. I must admit here, that I admitted it many times already, that I think between my husband and I, he is the one that making more sacrifice because of my career. I was first Sedang MP, so I stay in Sri Kembangan. And then I was transferred back to Johor and become the Kulai MP. So we moved back to Kulai. And then I got the opportunity to serve in MOE in the year 2018. So again, we moved the family out to Putrajaya again. My husband followed me throughout this whole period. Instead of a wife follow the husband to actually transfer here and there. But I think that this sentence from my husband actually touched me because he believes that I also have the same right to pursue my dream. And because he's more flexible in terms of his career, he is able to follow me, then he is willing to make the sacrifice. So it's not about husband making sacrifices for the wife or the wife making sacrifices to the husband. It's between two of us who have this flexibility and who is able to perhaps sacrifice a little bit more for the other part, for their spouse at that particular point of time. So it shouldn't always be wife making all the sacrifice for the husband or the husband making all the sacrifice for the wife, but it's always about the timing, the opportunity, the situation that actually allow us to discuss about is whose turn, who need more support now, and who should be the one that actually make the move to perhaps make the necessary sacrifice. I think that is one. Second, sorry, I think I got one part that I want to mention. I think second is very important is a happy mother, a confident mother can bring more to our children. If the mother is not happy, if the mother has very low confidence, I think whatever they are able to share with the children or educate their children will also be quite different. So again, my message to all the ladies in the room or outside the room, we must first of all take care of ourselves. We must first make sure that we are happy with our life. We feel satisfied. We feel what we are doing is meaningful. Then we will be able to play the role of mother and a wife better. Because if we are always unhappy, we don't really feel meaningful in our life, then I believe whatever we can channel back to our family will also be less positive and also constructive. And therefore, it is fairly okay for us to first take care of ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, YB2. Because what it is really speaking to is that you have had access to tangible support structures, be it via your husband, childcare, and otherwise. And that, of course, is multiplied in importance when you look at women who are from minoritized or underserved communities. So we cannot emphasize enough how important gender responsive budgeting is at the highest policy making levels, because ultimately it's not only about benefiting women but also about benefiting men and our wider social structures as well. I would love to get into a few more questions, but I think that brings us to the end of our time. And in conclusion, I would just like to quickly highlight that thanks very much to the insights shared by Senator Datuk Sri Zuraina as well as YB Tioni Ching. But let's come back to the facts of the matter, which is that Malaysia has actually dropped 12 spots to 114th. This is according to the 2024 World Economic Forum Gender Gap Index. As somebody who works the business financial desk, these statistics always interest me. So it again comes back to the fact that how do we harness the immense and incredible advantage of excellent education attainment, growing economic progress, and then translate it into policy making and legislative representation for women. Because what is true is this: women's full human rights must be codified into law, because until women retain equal lawmaking, governing, and earning power, our rights are far from guaranteed. And too many individual strategies for coping with gender inequality also perpetuates gender inequality at the collective level. As such, we have to collectively change the systematic elements at play. which is why we here at the MWGF Secretariat, we are also very heartened indeed that during today's keynote earlier this morning by YB Nancy Shukri, Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, stated that Malaysia's National Women's Action Plan will be launched early next year. And this aims to streamline women empowerment policies and actions across all sectors. Key pillars will be economic empowerment, leadership, safety, and well-being. Women and girls are minoritized, but we are certainly not a minority. Hendak seribu daya, tak hendak seribu dalih. Where there is a will, there is a way. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for my fantastic and esteemed speakers. Thank you very much. Back to you, Nadia.
Thank you, Tamina. Thank you again to YB Teo Ni Ching, YB Senator Datuk Sri Dr. Zuraina Musa for the insightful conversation. Let's have some photos on stage to commemorate this moment. We'd like to once again invite Dr. Julita to the stage to join the group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them another round of applause for our female nation builders right here on stage and all of you as well in the audience. It's evident that women in the country have made strides in various sectors. Despite these advancements, challenges still persist, influencing women's participation in the nation-building process. Nevertheless, our growing involvement remains crucial in shaping Malaysia's progress towards a more inclusive future. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for this final plenary session. Let's give them a thunderous round of applause once more. Thank you. Thank you to Yang Berhormat Teo Ni Ching, Yang Berhormat Senator Datuk Sri Dr. Zuraina Musa and Tamina Kawusji. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the very final agenda of the forum today, in the meantime, we'd like to remind you to not forget to tag UNFPA Malaysia in your socials, along with the hashtags MWGF 2024, hashtag Wanita Pembina Negara, hashtag Women Nation Builders when posting your photos and videos online of today's forum. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for this very final agenda of today, we'd like to invite to the stage once more from the MWGF Secretariat, Tamina Kawusji. Tamina, let's have you back on stage to present to us the resolutions of MWGF 2024 Women and Nation Building. Ladies and gentlemen, please give her a round of applause, the lady who have made this platform possible today.
Thank you very much for that, Nadia. A very good afternoon once again, everyone. Thank you so much for still being with us here through to the end of MWGF 2024, Women and Nation Building, the foundation for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And now I have the absolute privilege and honor of reading out and sharing with all of you the outcome of our entire day of engagements via high-profile keynote sessions and engaging plenary discussions. Here are the MWGF 2024 resolutions. Resolution 1, ladies and gentlemen, is equal agency in nation building. This entails improved female representation and participation in politics and public life to ensure women have equal agency as men in deciding the policies that shape the country's future. Resolution 2, targeting barriers. This entails addressing obstacles hampering women's participation in nation building by targeting structural, cultural, and legal barriers like unequal parental leave, the burden of unpaid care work, and poverty-driven child marriages in particular. Resolution 3, intentional capacity building. Develop female leaders in political, community, and corporate spaces through intentional and sustained capacity building. Moving on to Resolution 4, apply intersectional lens. Apply an intersectional lens considering gender, different abilities, ethnicity, age, and class in policy making. Resolution 5, continued advocacy, concerted effort. This entails encouraging multiple sectors of society to continue advocating boldly against laws that perpetuate gender inequality. Resolution 6, normalize shared responsibilities. Normalize shared responsibilities between men, women, and men in both private and public spheres, especially in performing care duties and pushing gender equitable policies. Ladies and gentlemen, and there you have it, resolutions 1 to 6. Provided, of course, by the hard and tireless efforts of our wonderful team of rapporteurs, Annabelle and Mohani, together in collaboration with UNFPA Malaysia, and of course, MWGF 2024 Secretariat. Thank you very much. We hope that these are actionable solutions and targeted areas which all our policymakers and all actors from all sectors of civil society, academia, and allyship will come together in the year 2025 and beyond. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamina. That's such an essential list of resolutions focusing on women and nation building as the foundation for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Definitely a plenty for Malaysia to strive towards in the coming years. Let's all commit to using our voices, platforms, and representation to further the cause of women and nation building via ensuring rights and choices for Malaysia's women and girls in 2025. With that, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the United Nations and UNFPA Malaysia, we thank you for your invaluable participation and support. I'm Nadia, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have been your host for today. Please do join us for a tea break and continued networking. We will also be releasing the MWGF 2024 report online at www.mwgf.org in January next year. With that, we look forward to welcoming you at MWGF 2025. Take care and stay safe, everyone. Thank you.